Hello, hello, and welcome back to another episode. It's episode 99 of our Love It or Shove It. And we have something special for our 100th episode. But for anybody who has been with us for all this time, we are celebrating you and just wanted to say that we are grateful for each one of you who are tuning in, who are engaging with us, who is supporting us because you matter, and that's why we continue creating these episodes because we just love to give you some value and we love to connect and get to know you better. And if this is the first time you are tuning into our talk show, hello, my name is Irina Portnova and I'm all about manifestation. How do we manifest our best reality? How do we manifest our best partner and our best love? And I'm here today with my co-host, Bruno Gil. Bruno, do you want to say a couple of words about yourself?
Yeah, of course. So my name is Bruno, as you all know. I'm a self-love coach, and basically, I try to help women achieve their max potential without really dehumanizing themselves. Right. So I think that's the most important thing.
Yes, and as always, we are coming with this juicy topic, and today we are going to talk about something important. And I just want to start us with saying sometimes people disappear from our life. There is no goodbye, there is no closure, just the pure silence. And somehow that silence could speak louder than any words that they could say. And we know that ghosting actually stings like hell. But here is the twist because honesty can hurt as well. So, which one cuts deeper? And more importantly, why does it hurt so much either way? And that's exactly our conversation for today, knowing that we are not just talking about the heartbreak or of being ghosting, but we are going even deeper about, and we are going to talk about how that avoidance showing up, how these wounds that we carry into modern dating, and how to finally shift from confusion to clarity. Bruna, I want to ask you: have you ever been ghosted in your life?
Of course, multiple times. People take the piss. You know how it is. Um, no, people take the piss, but you know, I think it's important that we don't blame them. Oh, they ghosted. It's their fault. I didn't do anything. But I did this. But I did that. Why are they ghosting me? You had to do something. And when I look back at what I've done, I didn't show myself the right way. I didn't say the right things. I didn't behave the proper way. Um, you know, People ghost you because you don't meet their expectations. Now, don't forget that you are the way that you are, sure, but at the same time, if you want somebody to meet your expectations, you have to be willing to meet theirs. And sometimes, as a man, right, or just as somebody who is more of a taker, than really more submissive, sometimes you have to take the first step. Sometimes people are waiting you to take the first step, and they're waiting to see if you're able to meet their expectations. And if you are, then they will be able to meet yours. They'll be like, okay, this person is willing to do this person is willing to do that, this person is willing to love me this way, treat me this way. So let me also be willing to do this. Let me see how I can help him. Let me see how I can serve him, right? Just the same way as he's helping me, the same way as he's serving me, right? But I think ghosting comes from not meeting a person's expectations, which then shows the lack of respect that the person has for you. Those women didn't respect me enough to continue talking with me. Those women didn't respect me enough to continue meeting me, calling me, talking with me, texting me, right? Because they found somebody else, somebody who actually is worthy of that. And as a man, I think it's very important that you become accountable to that and be like, okay, next time, what can I change? What can I do? Who am I? What am I striving to be? Okay, I understand this person ghosted me, but was I even going to have a future with this person? Was I even going to fine, maybe on the short term, it would be this and that, is create these butterflies, but was this actually something, right? Because honesty stings, But honesty is the complete opposite, because first of all, for a person to care that much, to be honest with you, it's they have to give a shit. They have to give a shit. People who are honest with you, they give a shit. That's
Hmm.
it. People who are honest with you, they give a shit. Because if they don't give a shit, they'll ghost you or they'll just ignore, and they don't respect you enough to tell you the truth, anyways, right?
You know
So.
what? I just wanted to touch a little bit like deeper because obviously, right now, as we've done some inner work, it's easy to go back and just, like talk about it and it feels easy. But I'm sure that you felt it in the moment when that ghosting actually happened. You felt hurt. You felt like you were questioning yourself because I did, and like all kind of things are coming to the play. We start overthinking and thinking if I was good enough, if like I might done something wrong. What if I did something differently? Would that person stay? Right? And we all have been facing it at one point of our life or another. It's kind of part of our human journey, but the idea is it's not the silence itself, but what we make out of it, what we make the meaning out of it. And then we just go down that spiral, right? We just go down that rabbit hole where we are just kind of constantly questioning, constantly doubting ourselves and thinking something is wrong with us. And but the idea is it's always about another person, it's never about us. So the actions of another person showing who they are, but obviously it takes some inner growth in order to start understanding these things. And I totally agree with you, as you mentioned that yes, ghosting is hard, but at least like honesty, even though it could be painful, but truth is giving us the clarity, right? It allows us to heal, because if we are ghosted, it just kind of like we are left hanging without understanding, right? So we kind of continue asking ourselves the questions: what happened? What did I do? Like start like replaying like last conversation or last meeting that we had with the person. And the idea is, again, it all comes to that the person's action have nothing to do with you. It more has something to do with them, the way
Mhm.
they perceive the world, the way that they think, the way that they value. Because again, Bruno, it all comes to your values, right? So we all have our beliefs, we all have our value system. For instance, for me, like I always make sure I say something to the person. I would never leave somebody hanging because I know how it's painful, right? And I always was like, like, okay, give me the truth. I'd rather know the truth, right? And again, a lot of times people are not healed themselves. And when they come into the partnership, when they start having these relationships, they can move from one person to another, like looking for everybody to fill the void and to answer their needs, while they are not realizing that first they have to heal themselves and be happy with themselves. And then they can connect with that partner that they like.
Mhm. Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit more. Do you think that ghosting is like this pandemic epidemic that comes nowadays for the society? Because it feels like everybody's just moving from one person to another person. It's like we are talking about commitment. A lot of times people lack the commitment because they can do that, right? Until people actually married, they have a lot to lose, right? Because when people are in marriage, you have that connection, financial connection, kids, house, the another ways, right? The relatives, the friends. So there is a lot of things to lose. So that's why a lot of times, people who are in marriage, they are staying for the longest, rather than when people just dating, it's easy for them to pick up their stuff and leave. So I think it's something that people are not realizing a lot of times, because it's all about what do you want that relationship for, right? Is it either this is just for fun, or this is like for something serious, because you are the person who wants to live to the fullest and experience everything, right? There is no such a thing as perfect relationship, but that's what the inner growth is all about. Both partners are continuously working, continuously growing together, because they know that they are making each other better by being in their presence, by communicating openly, by just adjusting and working on things, right? And that's exactly what we defined a good relationship. But let's just go back to that ghosting. And you know what the interesting part is? It doesn't even apply only to the relationship, because a lot of times I see it even in the business. So a lot of times people, let's say, like they come on initial call, then you're trying to get a hold of them, and it's like, whoo,
Uh,
they are not there, right?
mm,
And again, and it takes a lot to understand it's not about you. It's about them, that they do not know how to confront. And a lot of people, they'd rather leave without saying a word than dealing and facing the situation. So that applies to relationship, that applies to business, that applies in every area of our life, because the way that they say, the way you show up in one area of your life, that's exactly how you are showing up in another area of your life. What do you think about it?
um, yeah, like, so I like that is a very easy answer. That's because people can't commit for shit nowadays. That's just it. People cannot commit for a fucking thing. It's really sad. And the reason for that is because there's a lot of things that people can try new. So there's, oh my god, this sounds like such an exciting idea. Oh my god, this sounds like such an exciting person to be around. I'm gonna be around you. I'm gonna get there, right? And then we're gonna do something. It's gonna be exciting, but then it starts to get hard, too hard. I'm gonna look for something else. And if they just persist on that thing that they started initially, they will eventually break the plateau. But the thing is that they don't want to break the plateau. People want to get enough pleasure for what they're doing until it starts to becoming too much. Now they want to look for that same type of pleasure or more in something else that sounds exciting again, right?
Mhm.
And you're never going to really build anything that lasts, you know, with value. You're never going to build anything valuable that actually lasts with that mindset, right? Because trying new things is important, but if you're always trying new things and then you don't persist on them and you go back to the initial pleasure thinking you're smart when you're not, which is the dumbest thing you can possibly do, because you're wasting time. Why would you even start doing it anyways? And you know, that's that can apply to business, but here when we're talking about people, when we're talking about people's emotions as well, just stick with it. See how far it can take you, you know? Because I just feel that it is important to understand yourself. It is important to understand what you want. And especially for people in their 20s, like me, for example, as well. Like, if I go around and I have sex with a bunch of women in my 20s and then I get to my 30s, and I'm still single and I'm alone, right? And the same thing goes for women, right? Like, what am I doing? You know? Like, sure, like, I understand there's a lot of people nowadays, they get to their 30s, they're still single. And then they're like, you know what? I want to find somebody new. I want to find something, that lasts now, and I had my fun, so forth and so forth. But think about the good women that already are with good men, you know, and you could have had the chance before, you know, but you wanted to play around, as a fuck boy, or whatever, when you could have just done it before. And everybody has their time, and everybody does whatever they want. But remember, like, time doesn't come back. If you want to find, I presume and I believe, people that are, um, people that stay, people that are honest with you, and they don't just ghost you, you know. People that actually value you, they value your standards, they actually love what you stand up for, right? Um, those people are sometimes best found early on because you can grow together. And growing together doesn't mean like creating a business or like whatever. It just means growing as a couple, growing as two
Mhm.
people. You know, you don't have to do it on your own, right?
Mhm.
Um,
Right. I wanted
so,
just to share a
yeah.
couple of tools and see, like if you want to add on that topic, because again, tool is something that once we pick them up and use them, they help us to deal with whatever we are facing in life. And obviously, when we have the tools in our toolbox, we can navigate the life easier and things are working out in much better way for us. So the first tool when we are talking about to choose be honest and healing from ghosting, the first tool would be name what you truly want, because a lot of times we expect something from another person without really knowing what we want. So the first thing would be just to ask yourself a question: what is the kind of communication I truly desire in the relationship? And just sit down and write down, because clarity comes as we are writing, because this way we understand the thought process and we are actually sourcing the ideas because we are connected at that point. Another good tool would be practice the micro honesty. Don't wait for the big dramatic moment. What we want to do, we want to practice telling the truth in small daily ways. For instance, if you are not happy about something that the person you are dating did or your partner, you just say, hey, this isn't quite working for me, or I'm not ready for this, or I need more clarity here, right? So the idea is we are coming across that we know what we want and we are holding our boundaries, because a lot of times we are too fearful to speak up our truth, because right away the fears is going to come up and say, oh my god, I don't want to be alone. I don't know, I don't want that person to leave me. But then again, it just we are doing the disservice to ourselves if we are lowering our standards. And I love this tool, which is don't chase closure, create it. Because
Mm,
sometimes you won't get the apology, sometimes you don't get the answer or the explanation, and it doesn't mean that you can't heal, right? As
mm,
long as you are not just consistently replaying that past, that you go back to that and you are having the conversation with that person that hurt you. Because again, understand this is the manifestation you bring forward. If you're constantly going backwards and arguing with that person and asking why they did it to you, you are actually bringing that into manifestation. So your next partner is going to do something similar to that. That's why the best way to deal with that, you could just sit down and write the closure letter that you are never going to send. Then just rip it up. This is about you moving on, not them. And once you release these emotions on the paper, even though they do not hear you, but understand on the energetic level, we all can receive the messages. And for you, it's going to be much better. You're going to feel better. You are going to navigate your life better. Again, don't chase closure. Learn how to create it. Become the master of your life. Do not wait on other people to comfort your life or to bring the happiness in your life. And the last tool I would love to share is learn to sit with discomfort, because we a lot of times avoid honesty because we are so frightful that we are just going to fail. But what if that failure is actually our freedom? What if just choosing you rather than constantly trying to be comfortable for your partner, you are actually giving yourself the permission slip to move forward and open yourself to the greatest relationship, healing, and then just attract the partner that matches you on all these levels.
mhm.
Bruno, do you have any tips?
Yeah. I mean, first, I'd like to also address something. I think it's very important that we talk about this. In the beginning, I said, and I'll say it again because it's true, my eyes, the ghosting. Take a look at your behavior, see what you've done. You know, maybe if you've done certain things, the person would have stayed, right? But sometimes you've done nothing wrong. The
Mm-hmm.
person is just not ready for that commitment. Okay, or the person will lie to you, saying this, saying that, right? But don't get it twisted. The person lies to you, and
Mm-hmm.
it's like, oh, I didn't want to lie to you because you're so nice. That's even worse. That's
Mm-hmm.
not respect. That's pity. That's pathetic. That's even worse. So like,
Mm-hmm.
they're like, forget about it. Honesty is the way. Okay, and there are ways to say things. Okay, um, now you can swear. That's fine. It's when you're offending, right? Swearing is not a problem. You can say fuck and shit and whatever, but if you're calling names and offending, that's different, right? So there are ways to say things. One thing is swearing, another thing is offending, right? So to make a point, when you're honest because you care about the person, to make a point, you don't have to offend people, right? You can say the same thing in a kind way, and I truly believe that you're gonna get much further ahead in life, okay, with people and with your relationship and even with your friendships, right? Then really
Mm-hmm.
whatever. Now, if somebody goes to you because they're not capable of committing, well, that they have a them problem, you know. In this case, you tell them you have a you problem, right? Because they have a them problem. That's not your problem. But coming from the perspective of the man, always take a look at your behavior. Always take a look at what you've said. Always take a look at what you've done and see what can I change next time. Because remember, you are always growing as a person. And this is for men and women. Obviously, we're always growing. We're always getting better. That's the whole point. It don't matter if you're 60, 70, 80, 90, or 1,000. If you're alive, you have a chance to grow, right? So always look for the growth in every single thing that you do. And, you know, ghosting you because, ghosting people ghosting you because they don't want to commit, that's one thing, right? So people ghosting you because they don't want to commit is one thing, right? But guess what? If you have problem with people because they're honest with you, because your little ego is now bruised, that's a you problem, my friend, right? You shouldn't be upset at people because they're honest with you, you know, because if somebody's honest with you and they actually give that much of a fuck, believe me, you want to keep those people close. Keep them close. Keep them close because there's not a lot of honest people in the world nowadays, and honest people that tell you the truth in your face. They just really want the best for you, because they could lie to you, they could manipulate you, they could gaslight you, they could be narcissists, they could, drive into something and pretend they're your friends and then they just completely dump you there, and they think it's normal. Yeah, it was always going to happen. Of course, I was going to outsmart him or outsmart her, and they have zero pity for you, zero, right? But they don't. They're honest with you, right? So if you have honest people around you, keep them close. Take what they say for as in consideration. Love them the way they love you as well. Be honest with them as well, right? And don't worry about about, oh, I don't know if I should say this. Say whatever the fuck you want. People are gonna love you for what you are, not for what you show. Right? Simple. And never forget that honesty is a very good way of showing how unique and authentic you are. And in relationships, if you ain't being honest, then you're living a lie, right? So, you know, so always be honest with your partner as well.
Absolutely. And I just wanted to wrap it up for today, just to say that this is just not about who disappeared on you. It's about how we show up for ourselves. This is for the first and foremost. And that means that no more waiting, no more over analyzing, and no more of shrinking, because this is the call for clarity. This is call for the self-respect and empowered love, the love that you deserve. And you are not going to shrink yourself. You're not going to change your standards. Remember that everybody is acting from their level of awareness. And if people do not know better, they might ghost you. But if they people respectful, they will sit down and they will explain themselves. And again, yes, truth also hurts, but at least you know what exactly is going on. But again, if we continue waiting for the people to explain themselves, we are just not going to feel happy in our life. Be our own closure, right? Be our own creator of that closure and just move on and know that this is just the lesson that we meant to learn. And once we learn this lesson, it's never going to repeat, because from now on, we are not going to allow ourselves to stay with somebody who can ghost us. We can feel these people with the energy. We can feel these people right away, and continue loving yourself, continue progressing. Do not be afraid to be in the relationship, but be very conscious. Who do you choose? And be very open in communication. And obviously, use the tools, because the tools are given for us to use and see the reality that we want to experience. And we would love to know in the comments, what do you think about this topic? Because this is a very sensitive topic, and a lot of times people avoid even talking about it. But let's just bring it together to the surface. Let's have a powerful discussion. And we love you all. And Bruno, I want to just say something before we close.
I want to say something very direct. There's more bravery, more risk, more success, okay, and more growth in investing in something, right? That big or small chance of growing, right? There's more risk, more success, more growth, okay, in that than being a little bunny, impulsive, who can't control himself. Okay, there's no growth in that. You're just escaping. It's a distraction, and it boosts your ego. Quality will always be better than quantity. Okay,
Mhm.
so yeah, so
All right. Thank you so much for everybody who's tuning in or who is going to be watching in the replay. And again, we want to know your comments below, and continue shining, continue being the best version of yourself. And remember, ghosting is never about you, it's all about the person who doesn't know how to show up in this world. And that's just a lesson, it's not the sentence. Just know about it and continue confidently walking through life and attracting the ideal relationships. See you next week. Bye.